The stars were quiet. Space was cold and endless. In the darkness, something moved. It was not a small ship. It was big, very big. A human warship floated through the silence, shining with power. Captain Rayner stood on the deck of the ship. He looked at the black window, where stars blinked like small eyes. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Behind him, his crew worked quietly. They trusted him. He had led them through many missions, but this mission was different. No one spoke about it. They all felt it. Something strange was happening in space. The warship was named Iron Hope. It was one of Earth's strongest ships, made with human hands, built with human hearts. It carried weapons, shields, and something more, something the crew didn't fully understand, but they could feel it. The ship was alive in a way no machine should be. Far away, in another corner of the galaxy, a group of aliens floated in their own ship. They were called the Dravak. They were known across many worlds. Strong, proud, fearless. Their leader, Commander Kor, had sharp black eyes and silver skin. He had never lost a battle. Kor stared at the screen. On it, the human warship moved slowly. It didn't attack. It didn't hide. It just moved, like it didn't fear anything. "What is this?" one of Kor's soldiers asked. Kor didn't answer right away. He had heard stories of human warships, stories that even the bravest aliens were afraid to scan them. But stories were only stories. He didn't believe in fear. "Prepare the scanner," Kor said at last. "Let's see what they're hiding." Back on the Iron Hope, Captain Rayner felt a strange feeling in his chest. He didn't know why. Something was watching. Something was coming closer. "Sir," a crew member said, "we're being scanned." Rayner nodded. "Let them scan." The crew looked at each other. They knew what could happen. Other alien ships had scanned human warships before. Most of those ships were never seen again. No one knew why. Some said it was the ship's defense system. Others said it was something else, something darker. Inside the Dravak ship, the scanner buzzed. Lights flashed. Data came in fast. Too fast. "What is this?" one alien said. "The data. It's not normal." The screen showed pictures of human faces, strong, angry, calm, crying. It showed memories. A mother's smile. A soldier's scream. A child's laugh. All mixed with numbers and strange energy readings. Kor's eyes narrowed. This is not just a warship. It's something more. One of his soldiers whispered, "It's like the ship is feeling." Kor growled, "Machines don't feel." But deep down, something inside him started to shake. For the first time, Commander Kor felt a small, cold fear. On the Iron Hope, the ship's lights flickered. The air felt heavy. Captain Rayner stood still. "They tried to scan us," he said softly. "Should we fire?" the crew asked. Rayner shook his head. "No, let them learn." Outside, the stars kept shining, silent, watching. The Dravak ship pulled back. Their scanner stopped. Commander Kor sat in silence. His soldiers looked scared. No one spoke for a long time. "What did we see?" one finally asked. Kor didn't know what to say. The images, the feelings, they weren't normal. It was like the ship showed them pieces of the human soul. It was like the warship carried the pain, the hope, and the rage of every human who ever lived. He stood up slowly. "Prepare a report," he said. "We return to the High Council." "But, Commander, what do we tell them?" Kor looked at the screen one last time. The human ship was still floating in space, calm and silent, like a beast sleeping in the dark. "We tell them the truth," he said. "Even the bold must be careful. The humans are not what we thought." And with that, the Dravak ship turned away and disappeared into the stars. Back on the Iron Hope, Captain Rayner smiled. He didn't need to fight today. The message had been sent. Let them scan. Let them look. The warships carried more than weapons. They carried something far stronger. They carried human will. And no one, not even the bravest alien, could understand that. The Dravak ship flew quietly through deep space. Everything looked normal on the outside, but inside, things were changing. Lieutenant Creel sat alone in his cabin. His hands were shaking. He hadn't slept since they scanned the human warship. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the same sound. A whisper. At first, he thought it was nothing. Just stress. But the voice was clear now. It always said the same thing. You should not have looked. He sat up, sweat running down his face. The air felt colder than usual. He looked around the room. Empty. But the feeling wasn't gone. Something was there, watching him, inside his head. Creel ran out of the room and straight to the bridge. The other officers looked at him in shock. His eyes were wide. His voice was shaking. "Commander," he shouted, "we need to leave this space now. That ship, it's not just metal." Commander Kor stood, calm and strong. "Explain yourself." Creel pointed to the screen showing the human ship. "It spoke to me. In my dreams. In my mind. That warship is alive. I saw memories. Death. Fire. I felt every scream like it was mine." The crew laughed nervously, but Kor did not. He remembered the scan. He remembered the strange images. The human faces, the crying child, the battlefield. It didn't make sense then. But maybe it wasn't just data. "Commander," Creel said, voice cracking, "they build ships using pain. I saw it. The walls of that ship, they're filled with souls. Human souls." "Enough," Kor said. But Creel kept talking. "They trap the emotions inside. That ship, it remembers every human who ever died in war. It stores their memories, their anger, their love, their loss." Kor stepped forward. "Are you saying the ship is haunted?" Creel nodded. "Yes, haunted by human pain." The room went silent. Then another officer, Tarn, spoke. "Commander, I'd also been hearing whispers. I didn't say anything, but the voice calls my name when I sleep." Kor turned toward the screen again. The Iron Hope hadn't moved. It just floated, calm and silent, like it was waiting. Waiting for someone to come close again. Kor clenched his fists. "No, this is human trickery. They use technology to scare us. But we are not weak. We will scan again, with more power. This time, we get full access." The crew hesitated. "But sir," Tarn said. "That is an order," Kor barked. Back on the Iron Hope, Captain Rayner stood in silence. He stared at a glowing panel on the wall. The ship was humming. Not like an engine, but like it was breathing. He could feel it. The warship knew someone was coming back, and it was ready. "Captain," one of his crew said, "they're scanning again." Rayner gave a small nod. "Then it's time to show them the truth." The crew didn't touch any buttons. They didn't activate weapons. They just stood still, because they knew they didn't need to fight. The ship would protect them. Suddenly, deep inside the Dravak ship, alarms rang. Lights blinked red. The scanner started screaming. Kor ran to the control panel. "What's happening?" "It's not us, sir. The scan. It's turning back on us. It's scanning us." Then the ship went dark. All lights off. Engines dead. Weapons offline. Silence. Only silence. Then a sound. Whispers. Hundreds of voices. Soft. Cold. Human. Kor looked around. "Who's speaking? Show yourselves." But no one moved. His crew stared forward. Eyes open. Not blinking. Not breathing heavy. Frozen. Tarn collapsed to the floor. Creel dropped next. One by one, they all fell. But they were not unconscious. Their mouths moved slowly, all saying the same thing. The ship remembers. The ship remembers. Kor fell to his knees. His chest felt heavy. His mind filled with images. He saw fire, bombs falling on cities, human soldiers running, shouting, crying, a mother holding her child during war, a soldier writing a letter before his final mission, a young boy holding a flag at a funeral. Pain, loss, sacrifice, all of it came rushing into Kor's mind. And then, a single voice spoke. You wanted to see what's inside a human warship. Now you see. Kor screamed. Later, Kor woke up on the cold floor of his ship. Everything was dark. His crew was still, breathing but silent. He stood slowly, shaking. The human ship was gone. He tried to send a message, but the system was fried. He looked into the black window of space and whispered to himself, what kind of monsters build ships from memory? There was no answer. Only stars. And silence. But Kor knew one thing for sure now. Human warships are not just ships. They are living ghosts of every war Earth has ever known. And no one should ever try to scan them again. The High Council of the Dravak Empire listened to Commander Kor's report in silence. He stood before them, pale, tired, broken. His voice trembled as he spoke. I saw it with my own eyes, he said. That warship is alive. It carries more than weapons. It carries pain, memories, the souls of fallen humans. We should not go near it again. The council murmured. Some believed him. Most did not. Fear has blinded you, one counselor said. We do not run from ghost stories. Another added, if the humans are hiding power inside their ships, we must learn their secrets. We will send a fleet. Kor tried to protest. Please, I am not lying. That ship nearly killed my crew without firing a single shot. But they would not listen. 3 days later, a new fleet, 10 times larger than Kor's, was sent to scan the Iron Hope. The High Council wanted answers. They wanted to know why even the boldest aliens fear scanning human warships. The Iron Hope floated near a quiet blue star, silent, waiting. Captain Raynor stood alone on the deck, watching the starlight shine across the black hull. Do you think they'll try again? A young crew member asked. Raynor nodded. Yes, curiosity always comes before fear. He turned and placed a hand on the ship's control panel. Are you ready? He whispered. The ship answered with a soft hum, like it understood. Moments later, the fleet arrived. 10 giant alien ships, hundreds of soldiers, thousands of weapons. The leader of the fleet, Admiral Reschke, laughed when he saw the human warship. One ship, that's all, he said. This will be easy. He ordered a deep scan, stronger than any before. They aimed all scanners at once. Beams of invisible energy shot across space and struck the Iron Hope. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then everything changed. Inside the alien fleet, power systems began to flicker. Lights turned red. Screens filled with strange codes, symbols from Earth that no one understood. Then the screams began. Not from humans, from the alien ships themselves. Every ship's AI system shut down. Control rooms filled with loud alarms. Engines stopped working. Weapons refused to fire. And then, the voices returned. Thousands of human voices, whispering, crying, shouting, echoed through the alien ships. Crew members froze. Some dropped to their knees. Some clawed at their heads. All of them saw the same thing. Memories. Not their own. Human memories. A soldier running through fire to save his friend. A medic patching up a wounded child during war. A pilot crashing into enemy lines to protect his team. Again and again. Pain. Sacrifice. Hope. Anger. The aliens couldn't escape. The memories played inside their minds like a burning film they couldn't stop. Admiral Reschke shouted, "Shut it off. Cut the scan." But nothing worked. The scan wasn't theirs anymore. The human ship had taken control. And then, across every ship, one message appeared on every screen. You wanted to see inside. Now carry what we carry. Resch fell to the floor. His vision blurred. He saw a funeral on Earth. Soldiers standing in the rain. A folded flag handed to a mother. A single tear on her cheek. He screamed. Back on the Iron Hope, Rayner's crew watched the alien fleet drift in silence. No movement. No signals. No response. Rayner closed his eyes. He wasn't happy. He wasn't angry. He felt sad. They never understand, he said. They think we build ships for war. But we build them to remember. To honor. One crew member asked, "Why do we let them scan, Captain?" Rayner looked into the stars. Because we don't want to hide our past. We want them to see what war costs. Maybe then, they'll stop trying to start one. Admiral Resch's message spread quickly across the galaxy. The humans had something no one understood. Something alive. Something powerful. The Dravak High Council was not pleased. They had lost too many ships and soldiers, and now they were afraid. Fear was a disease, spreading through their empire. They had never been so helpless, and it made them angry. So angry that they decided to do what no alien had dared before. They would send everything. A fleet of 50 warships, thousands of soldiers, every weapon they had. They were going to confront the Iron Hope and break its secrets wide open, no matter what it cost. On Earth, Captain Rayner and his crew received the warning just in time. The sensors on the Iron Hope had detected the massive fleet coming. It was too big, too powerful. Rayner stood still, staring at the view outside. The stars looked peaceful, quiet, but he knew better. He felt something deep inside. The ship, the Iron Hope, it was already preparing for the coming storm. "Captain," a voice broke through his thoughts. It was Lieutenant Orin, a young officer who had been with him for years. "They're coming. They have the numbers." Rayner nodded slowly. "Yes, but we won't fight. We never have to fight." "But they won't stop," Orin replied, anxiety creeping into his voice. "What if they don't listen?" Rayner turned to face him. "They will listen, one way or another." He moved to the control panel, his fingers lightly brushing over the smooth surface. He didn't need to press any buttons. The Iron Hope already knew what to do. The crew didn't understand everything about the ship, but they didn't need to. They trusted it. And most importantly, they trusted the past. In space, the Dravak fleet approached. Commander Kor, though no longer in command, was leading the operation. His previous warnings had been ignored. Now he was determined to make them pay for their arrogance. "We will end this," he said to his crew. "We will make them surrender. No more games." But something in his heart felt uneasy. He couldn't stop thinking about what he had seen on his ship. The voices, the memories, the pain. "I don't think we should do this," he muttered to himself, looking out at the stars. One of his officers spoke. "We have no choice, Commander. They must be stopped." Kor stood tall and faced the fleet. He knew the coming battle would not be like any other. He had faced wars before. He had seen armies fall. But he had never faced something like the Iron Hope. "Prepare for the final scan," he said, his voice full of doubt. "We will force them to reveal everything." Back on the Iron Hope, Rayner's crew had begun to prepare. Weapons were ready, though no one had touched a trigger. They didn't plan to fire. "We will not fight," Rayner repeated, speaking to the crew. "The ship will protect us, but only if we trust it." They didn't know how. They only knew that the Iron Hope had its own will, its own purpose. Rayner stood at the front of the ship, watching the fleet draw closer. The sky was no longer peaceful. The ships were huge, vast. They were filled with weapons and death. And yet, the Iron Hope remained still. Suddenly, a voice spoke inside his head. "They're not ready. You must teach them. Raynor closed his eyes. The voice was not his own. It was the ship. It was the memory. He felt something deep inside him stir. Fear. No, not fear. Understanding. He opened his eyes, and the ship responded. The massive Dravik fleet moved into position, their scanners aiming directly at the Iron Hope. This time, they would learn everything. Then, something changed. The voices. The same voices from the first scan. The whispers came again, this time, loud and clear. Each word felt like it was coming from the depths of space itself. They called out from the past, from humanity's history, and the Dravik fleet felt it. Kor, standing on his bridge, staggered back. His hands trembled. His voice was barely a whisper as the first voice reached his mind. We carry what you cannot understand. Then another voice. We carry the blood of our fathers. And another. We carry the grief of 1,000 wars. Then more voices. Millions. All at once. They filled the bridge of the Dravik ship. They filled Kor's mind. His vision blurred, and he couldn't breathe. On the screens, he saw the faces. Faces of soldiers. Faces of families torn apart by war. Faces of children who would never grow old. The memories came rushing into him. In the Dravik fleet, chaos broke out. Crew members screamed. Some fell to their knees, crying. Others whispered words they didn't understand. The whole fleet was suddenly frozen in place. They were trapped. And then, the final truth came to Kor. You wanted to know what we are. This is who we are. We are the people who never stop fighting. We are the ones who remember the cost. Kor could no longer speak. The weight of what he felt was unbearable. He fell to the floor, tears streaming from his eyes. The whispers were not just memories. They were humanity's legacy. The Iron Hope didn't carry weapons. It carried the weight of every battle ever fought. And now, the Dravik knew. They had touched the darkness of what it meant to be human. The Iron Hope drifted through space, as it always had. Silent. Alone. But it wasn't just a ship anymore. It was something more. It was humanity's soul, carrying all the battles, losses, and hopes of Earth's history. In the command room, Captain Raynor stood with his back to the stars. The hum of the ship was steady, but it wasn't just the ship that felt alive now. It was everything. The memory, the legacy, the truth. He turned slowly to face his crew. Are we ready? He asked. The crew looked at each other, uncertain. They had just witnessed something impossible, a power they couldn't understand, but one they now knew too well. Yes, Captain, Lieutenant Orin said, his voice quiet but firm. We're ready. Raynor smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was a knowing smile. They had won, not through fire, not through weapons, but by remembering. Back in the Dravik Empire, things were not the same. The fleet that had returned from the confrontation with the Iron Hope was broken. The soldiers had seen things they could never forget. The memories of war, the real cost of it, had burned their minds. The High Council was in chaos. Admiral Reshk, though no longer in charge, stood before the broken council. His eyes were filled with deep sorrow. They never stop, he whispered. They carry the cost of war in their hearts, and it never goes away. The council couldn't speak. They had seen the truth too. The images, the voices, the pain. It was no longer about war. It was about sacrifice, about the toll of every battle fought by the human race. Reshk turned to leave, his voice low. We can never fight them. We must learn from them, understand them. The council did not argue. They could no longer deny it. On Earth, the story of the Iron Hope began to spread across the galaxy, but not as a tale of war. It was a story of survival, of hope, of the human spirit, unbroken, even in the face of unimaginable loss. And Raynor, standing on the deck of the ship, watched as the stars shimmered far away. He felt the weight of every human who had ever fought, every soul lost in battle, every dream shattered by war. But he also felt something else, strength. "We don't fight because we have to," Raynor said softly, almost to himself. "We fight because we will never forget, and because we believe there's always something worth protecting." The ship's lights flickered. A soft hum filled the air. Raynor stepped forward, staring into the endless sky, his voice low but full of pride. "This is our legacy. This is who we are." And as the ship glided deeper into the stars, it didn't leave behind just memories. It left behind the lesson that the Dravak would never forget. Humanity would not be beaten. Humanity would never stop. And the Iron Hope, with all its scars and all its ghosts, would remain silent, waiting forever.